start talking about just the overall idea, just like what is CrossFit, like fitness and all these other terms that we tend to use, whether it's a podcast or within our gym or just maybe something you hear out in the world itself. And this is something cool because even like my first experience with like CrossFit, I had zero clue what it was. Like I wasn't even exposed to like the CrossFit games. I had no clue, any idea what CrossFit was. I just kind of came in, I met with Seth. It was like, yeah, I'm in college. I'm kind of overweight, need some help. And I used to be an athlete. And so we kind of got me in. Once I got in, it was an entirely different world. Like it's nothing that I ever knew or even expected. But it was so much, it's something I fell in so much love with that at this point it's like I could never look back.
Yeah. And the cool thing about what we're going to talk about today is like, what is the goal of CrossFit and what is fitness? The cool thing that most of our members don't even know is the breadth and the depth of science that is behind the CrossFit methodology. Yeah. So Greg Glassman is the founder of CrossFit. His father was a legitimate rocket scientist for NASA. So Greg grew up like science, theory, hypothesis, proving things. Like he didn't just come up with a fitness program to try to make people sweat and work really hard. Like there is so much science in what we do, proven years and years and years and years and years and thousands upon thousands of people as like the trial testers to come up with what they have today as far as the methodology. Yeah. And the first thing it started with was Greg Glassman defining fitness. What is fitness? Because when you look up the definition of fitness, it is like the state of one being fit. Like you can't use the word in the definition.
It's like number one rule.
So he tried forever to find like a usable definition of fitness to be measured upon, and there wasn't one. So he took it upon himself to create the definition for fitness, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. And I think this is important to note because, like you said, like this is tested. This is research. This is backed. It's not just like Seth came up with this and like opened up CrossFit and goes like, yeah, this is just a bunch of methodology. Just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, I just slap some workouts on it. It's tried and true and it's tested because and it shows results, right? And it's not just showing results because it's just randomly put together. It was again put through trials and trials and trials and tested until we had this methodology itself known as CrossFit come out.
And that's one of the biggest differences between like CrossFit and all the other knockoff boot camp style classes is they're just throwing random things together to get you sweating, feel like you worked, like you did a good workout.
Yeah.
And like, great. It's better than nothing. But they don't have like the years of the scientific backing that CrossFit had to create this method. Greg Glassman started this in the 80s.
Yeah.
He spent a decade, like 20 years developing it before it really hit mainstream in like the early 2000s. So with that, we'll dive right into the definition of CrossFit, the definition of fitness.
I'm losing high intensity.
Yeah. That's the definition of CrossFit.
Yeah.
So the definition of fitness is your work capacity across broad time and modal domains.
Yeah.
So there's like a very short sentence, but there's a lot of deep stuff there. And the goal of CrossFit is to increase that. It's to increase your fitness, increase your work capacity across broad time and modal domains. If anything does not favor that, we don't want it.
Right.
We don't want it. And this is where we can like talk about segmented training and all that stuff, but we'll start kind of breaking down what that definition means. So kick it off. Work capacity.
I think the big thing to take away from work capacity and this idea of across broad time modal domains means that varied function, like that varied aspect of it is with that definition, something to note and understand is like, it's already right from the get-go saying we're going to be doing a lot of different things in a lot of different time frames. And that's important because when it comes to training, you'll see a lot of runners are really good at running, and that's awesome. And then you'll see sprinters, they're really good at sprinting. But if you switch their roles, they're not good in either role. And so the idea here to increase your work capacity in broad time modal domains is the idea that you're going to be able to run longer distances, but also do those sprints and be able to have the capacity to do all those things. And that's kind of the big thing to understand with this definition is it's encompassing all areas of fitness, right? It's not just strength. It's not just looking good, although that's more of a side effect than it is anything
100%.
else. But it's also not just being super fast or having the endurance or whatever it is. It's having the work capacity to do all these things.
Yeah. And very simply, work capacity is like, what can you do? So this is where it's really cool. Like CrossFit was the first methodology to really blend functionality with performance. Like, what can you do that could be inside of the gym? And the more you can do inside of the gym, that is going to translate to the more stuff you can do outside of the gym. So very simply, work capacity is what can you do? Broad time modal domains. Broad time is short, medium, long.
Yeah.
We're going to do some short, like 2 to 3 minutes, crazy high intense workouts. We're going to do some 30, 40 hour plus workouts because we want to be able to work at all different time frames. And then modal domains just means a whole bunch of different crap.
Yeah.
We want to be able to do anything, everything that gets thrown at us. And the specialty of CrossFit is not specializing. Just like what you were saying, someone that just runs is really good at running, and that has little transfer to other things.
Yeah.
If you are just a lifter, you're really good at lifting, but that has little transfer to other things. CrossFit wants to be broad, general, and inclusive to where we scratch the surface on everything. And they say, like, we're training for the unknown and the unknowable. So I'm more interested in the person that, because of your training, no matter what gets thrown at you in life, you can handle it, and your fitness is not going to be a limiting factor.
Yeah.
If you take a elite bodybuilder or power lifter, when they have to go run a couple miles, they're screwed.
100%.
You take an elite marathon runner, and they might have a hard time picking up a bag of dog food because they're not very strong. But when you train across all different domains, you're able to handle anything that gets thrown at you. And that was the coolest thing about CrossFit is you have to be able to do all these things without taking hits on any other thing. So the person that like just trains one thing, they're going to take hits on the other parts of their fitness. And so if we're looking at, like, again, the goal of being increase your fitness, if you're 600-pound back squat, but I run a 20-minute mile, I'd rather have someone squat like 400, but be able to run an 8-minute mile. Overall, that person is going to be more fit.
Yeah, exactly. Because, again, they're able to achieve the strength numbers and the performance in a run at a more average level than someone who is specified in one area.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing to all take away from this is it's not just gym into gym. Like, just because you get super strong in the gym and you're able to run that mile super fast, those are all components that you've already mentioned that transfer not only into your ability to do the things in the gym, but outside the gym.
Yeah, that's that's why most of the time in CrossFit we use functional movements, like full body compound movements, because that's what we're gonna see in the real world when the zombie apocalypse hits. When there's a burning building, we have to run, jump, fight, throw, like all these different things. You're not gonna do like this shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's picking up your kid too. It's playing with your kid. Like, you don't pick your kid up by like slowly
one movement,
hinging
then this
like,
movement, then this movement.
It's all dynamic. It's usually a lot of fun. You want to be able to do those things, and so the ability to have the work capacity to do all those things doesn't just make you a solid runner, solid lifter, but it also just makes you a solid human being. Your performance 100%. Outside, now you're able to go hike with your family and not have a problem, be out of breath. You're also able to, carry a bag on that hike and not have a problem. You're also able to pick up your kids, go run, play football, whatever it is, because you've created that ability to work in different time domains, and you have that work capacity because you've been training that way within the gym, and so that all just transfers over. And that's like the overall encompassing picture that gets missed.
Yeah, and that like we said earlier, it's like this whole broad spectrum of fitness. If you're doing one thing so much that it takes away from the others, you are not fit. You are sport specific in whatever thing you're training, but in the broad scheme of like overall fitness, you're not fit. And that's like triathletes used to be like the big, like, these are the fittest people in the world. Like, no, they're really good at 3 things: running, biking, swimming. Yeah. You put any weight on a bar and they're going to have a really hard time moving it. They're going to have a really hard time doing anything fast, dynamic, and powerful. Yeah. So it's the goal of CrossFit is to increase your fitness, which is your work capacity across broad time and modal different domains, so we can do everything and like essentially be Batman. Yeah. Like, we're strong enough, but we're fast enough, we're powerful enough, we're flexible enough, we have coordination, agility, balance, speed, everything.
And at the end of the day, he's just an average human being.
He is.
Isn't that weird?
Bruce. Yeah, he did CrossFit. He did CrossFit.
Human, he doesn't have magical powers. Yeah. He's just a human.
He's just a dude. So that's fitness. That is fitness. That is what we're doing. Everything is under the spectrum of that's the goal. Increase that.
Yeah. And I think that's like, I think you encompass it very well, is the idea is to understand that fitness is just not one thing.
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with multiple people. You know, I have friends that focus on more of a bodybuilding element. There's not anything wrong with any of those things, right? Great. If that's what you love to do and it's working for you, sweet.
Better than nothing.
Exactly. But the idea to understand, though, is that's just doing, 4x12 or 5x12 every single day for every week of the month or whatever it is. If you got to go run away from a robber, you're going to gas out pretty fast, right?
Yep.
And there's always, different variables, or you have adrenaline, blah, 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 the
Yep.
whatever's going on with the situation. But to understand, you're going to be a more fit human being if you're able to lift weight and run and jump
100%.
and do this and do that, rather than being just very specified in one area.
Yeah, and even a step farther, like if you're someone that like lifts on Monday and you do cardio on Tuesday, and then you lift on Wednesday, cardio on Thursday, lift on Friday, and you segment your training. Again, that is better than nothing. Mm-hmm. You are still going to lack fitness, because now when we try to combine some sort of weightlifting and cardio together, you gas out. I've seen it time and time again. The people are like, yep, I lift a lot, and then the other days I do a lot of cardio, so like I'm overall pretty fit. Like, have you ever combined the two? Like, no, we do it and they freaking die.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden lifting under a high heart rate is a world of difference. So you can have someone that can bench press the world, run a good mile, but if they do like a 5-round workout of a 400-meter run and then 10 bench press, round 2, 3, they die. They die. And that is the coolest part of fitness, of CrossFit, is that we can like do it all.
Yeah, and I think that example sums up perfectly. Like, that's fitness.
That's fitness.
Being able to do it all at once.
Yeah, and the coolest thing for me is like that unknown, unknowable aspect. Like, it doesn't matter what gets thrown at me. I feel that I am prepared for any physical task, without training specifically for it.
Yeah,
because of how varied and functional our training methodology is.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, fitness is cool.
It is.
So
CrossFit's cool.
CrossFit is cool. If you want to become Batman, do CrossFit.
Period.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, that's general ideas. Is there anything else you think we need to add or talk about when it comes to fitness?
Nope. We're going to do some more of these little quick podcasts going through like the old school methodology and the science behind all, because this that was just the definition of CrossFit, or just the definition of fitness.
That was very surface level discussion.
There is a lot of other stuff going on underneath this with different models, different theories, and we'll dive into those, because I really believe it's important, or for the people that care, want to know like why we're doing what we're doing, the ideas behind it, and why it's proven. So we're going to take some time and go through a bunch of different ideas of like the true methodology from the core.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to do something, you probably should know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
and this is step one, understanding
kind of
like
ideas,
what the goal of CrossFit is and what fitness even means.
Yeah.
So we'll start here, and then we'll dive deeper.
Yes, sir. All right. Other than that,
that's it.
Make sure you guys subscribe to hear more that's coming in the future. Don't forget to leave a like and comment down if you have anything else you want to hear or for us to talk about. Other than that, we'll see you guys on the next episode.